Oh, hello there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting me and us be a part of your journey. We have to get today an incredible panel and roundtable of outliers who all have found their ways to keep up leveling their impact, their income, and their integrity so that they can show up and bring more to the worlds that they serve. I'm excited for you to get to know these outliers. Let's take a stroll on down and get to know them. All right. Let's start off with you, Olivia. Olivia, would you mind sharing with us a bit more about you and the game that you play?
Yes, thank you, Niiamah, for having me. I'm Olivia Ashley. I was born in Minnesota and grew up in Colorado, where I currently live with my husband and our three kids. I am an avid nature lover, reader, forever learner, and homebody truly. My more professional background, which has kind of led into what I do now, is in the sphere of higher education in the philanthropic sector, being and doing donor relations and operations management. But alongside that, I really quickly learned as I was a young mother and then also navigating full-time job and the commute, all the things that it was not really sustainable for me. I still somewhat do it, but I now do it in my own way where I've really had to use my voice and stand up for those things. And it led me along a path down exploring, I'd say, holistic wellness. So doing yoga because I wasn't feeling good in my body postpartum, finding nutrition because I wasn't feeling well in my body, Reiki, herbalism, really just wanting to explore my consciousness, this life, our connection to each other, to the earth, and find inner resilience because I realized that was truly what I was missing as I was navigating my life. So, throughout my journey this last decade, I'd say is really what has brought me here. There was grief and illness and burnout and disconnection. And through those challenges, I came to understand the importance of honoring myself, my voice, my intuition, and kind of being okay with not going with the status quo. I mean, I love your title of your podcast because, like, I am core black sheep, like fringe, just, but also like in the mainstream, right? Like, we learn how to survive, but I found that life is a lot more fun and exciting when you are doing it with like heart centeredness and your well being in mind. And then, like, you get to play and explore. So that really fueled my mission to help other women do the same. And that came to life through my podcast, Intuition Unlocked, which really serves as a guide for women to who feel lost, disconnected, burnt out, like they are coming from it in their own ways, but there's a lot of relativity and connection of, hey, we've been there. Let me help you share the crazy things I've gone through and what I've done to help myself to get to a place where I do feel like I have found wellness and confidence. And it's not perfect, but I'm like excited and moving through things with a lot more resilience than I could like 5 years ago, I'd say. So I mainly do my podcast, and then I also am an avid writer. So I have a Substack, Trust and Pixie Dust, which also co-aligns with that of just adding more resources and tools there to just deepen that connection and bring tools for other people where it's just like it's easy for me. This is what I'm excited to do, have conversations, connect, and help people become just excited about their lives and feel well.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Olivia. I don't know why, for some reason, every time I go and say your name, I stop a bit. I'm like, what's going on there? But Olivia, one of the things that I'm listening to is when you said intuition unlocked, and I would love to have this conversation be a nice little like playground for us to play with unlocked intuition, and just see where the conversation takes us, see how we let intuition like actually play itself out in here, in addition to all the other things that can be out. Are you down for that game?
Always. It's my
Uh,
favorite game. We should all be doing that all
uh,
the time.
all right, let's play it out then. Let's play it out. Thanks for being here, Nate. Let's let Outliers get to know you. Can you tell us more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Course, Niiamah, and thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure being in the presence of all of you. So my name is Serrentino. I am a podcaster. My podcast is the Savior Services podcast. Originally guided spirits, guiding people's souls. Then I moved it to the Free Thinkers Emergence podcast, and then I just kept it simple with the name of my brand and my company, Savior Services, where we teach people how to save themselves in the three planes of life. So moving forward to that, I started like my self-development journey as like in fitness, and then I became a fitness and nutrition coach. And I kind of moved to mindset coaching, mind coaching, because I wasn't really into making workout programs and nutrition plans for people. And then I was like, well, you also need a spiritual health, and you need to have like something, you need to be connected to something bigger than yourself. You need to understand that you aren't here on your own. Like everything's connected, like nature, the universe, and you need to work with it. You need to be in unison and synchronicity with the universe to really be serving your divine purpose. And I believe that we are all here for a reason. We're all here to help serve each other and be of service to one another. Where when I'm of service to the people around me, I feel the most fulfilled. And I feel like that's what I was put here to do, is to help people like evolve and grow into their consciousness, to discover their passions, to align with their purpose, and to live a life that's fulfilling, where I believe success is defined by how aligned are you with your true passions, with your health and your wellness, with the mindsets and mentalities that you have towards the world around you, and last but not least, how your spiritual health is. Like where do you lie as a soul, as a spirit? Like what's above you and your physical body? So that's basically where I'm at in life. And I recently just moved out to LA, which is known as the City of Angels. And in 2 weeks, it's been incredible. And I am so glad that you emailed me and invited me to be on your podcast. I saw the email while driving through Colorado. I was at a friend's house, and I was like, oh, whoa, someone invited me on their podcast. Who is this? And then I looked you up, saw some of your podcast. I was like, yo, I gotta get on this. And now we're here. But thank you very much for having me, Niiamah. And I'm excited to see where this goes.
Oh, so am I. So am I. You know, there's something about here that like how often things just start with an invitation. You know, I'll elaborate on that more as time goes on. But Nate, just know that I'm glad that you are here. Like, good to have you.
Thank you.
Olujare, let us get to know more about you and the game you are currently playing.
Okay, my name is Olujare Ogbe. I was born and raised in Nigeria, lived all my life in Nigeria, and just moved out to London about 2 years ago with my family. I currently work in healthcare. I have a degree in psychology. Um, yeah, so apart from my 9 to 5 daily job now, I I like to I like to see myself or refer to myself as being a life enthusiast. Um, I like to share my personal experiences, and from the name of my podcast, Life as I See It, it's me connecting to people through life as I see it. Um, like like Olivia said, the things we experience in life. And I grew up, I had a lot of experiences, a lot of things I went through and didn't really have people to share it with. And I had to navigate a lot of stuff myself. I had to figure things out myself a lot at a very early stage of my life. And that kind of brought me to that point where I started to think there are other people who are going through things and, probably crippled by fear, crippled by anxiety or worry about what other people will think or what other people will say. And then they just bury everything on the inside. And I decided I was going to make myself a safe space, the safe space I didn't exactly have or wish I had. And, by sharing my experiences, maybe not so deeply or maybe not so personally, I've had people give me feedback on how, oh, your last episode, I could relate to it. It helped me in such and such way. And that makes me very happy. I'm a creative. I love to write. I feel like I'm a bundle of talents. And, every day I just find out new things about myself. But basically, the ultimate goal is to leverage on my background in psychology and this God-given talent that I have, that allows people warm up to me and, open up to me to help them navigate life generally. It's life is a lot. Life is a lot, and I feel like everybody needs a safe space. Everybody needs that space where they can unburden, where they can share the things they are going through. And I want to be that person who brings, that comfort, who brings that safety, and which is really what my podcast is about, sharing my experiences to help others.
You just said here like your bundle of talent. Just so you know, that's one of like the richest ways that I've heard like that being like expressed there. I am excited to like experience all those talents, and I'm glad that you own who you are, each of you in this space here. Let's talk about like let's bring us into the space here. I like to ask this question as I get to know each of you here because it helps me see how like the journey that you're actually on. All right. Um, so, Olivia, I'll start with you, then I'll come to Nate. We'll do the same order of our introductions. But the first question I have for you is what's a belief that you have had that as you look to your next level, you're like, oh, I probably have to up level this one as well?
That is a really good question. And I immediately thought about as a woman being that good girl, like following the status quo, dressing the certain way, having the career that's expected of you. And like I started with, I've always been someone that I just like came in and I push bounds. I don't know why. I'm curious. I want to explore. I want to like just go beyond what has been told to me. And if you tell me no, like watch me go. And yet, I think I repressed that for a really long time. And that was really keeping me in a space that I lost myself. I didn't understand who I was, what was even exciting to me, what do I believe? And then I started having really wild psychic medium experiences before knowing I was a psychic medium and like intuition coming online. And just right, like threw me even more dark and deep into that like shadow, like outsider. Oh my gosh, no one gets me. No one understands me. The opposite of a good girl who just is in this straight and narrow, who I thought I was, I wanted to be. And I really had to get over that. And no, it was not easy, but there was so much power that came and so much clarity and um, just knowing that, okay, I'm finding myself when I can start to listen and explore my own experience, and it doesn't have to look like what other people's experiences are. And when I could really allow that good girl, that just who I thought I was to be released. And that really came through motherhood and all these experiences. I felt safe enough to move forward and be vulnerable and start my podcast and share my voice and experiences and find the people who go, oh, I see you. I have similar journey. I understand this. I want this as well. And I don't need everyone to get me. I trust who finds me is meant to, and let's go for it. Like everyone else, do your journey, do what you need. I think that's what I really learned. We can all be in our lane, in our zone, and thrive, but you have to find what that is for you.
And so as you're talking, Olivia, I'm seeing Nate and he's having a ball. So Nate, what like that firstly, what's resonating with you around what Olivia said? And then like then I'll ask you the same question.
So like the the whole intuition and then moving through like the darkness and I think it's like finding yourself where like who am I at the highest level? Like what is the authentic Olivia in your case? Or for me, the authentic Nate. And when I went through my I like to call it like a hero's journey. where it's you have to go through the darkness to get to the light, and you end up learning where you shine the brightest and how you can become your own source of light. Like looking to other people to be a light for you is good until there is no one and all you have is yourself. And then you have to figure out, okay, what makes me who I am, and how can I, like, the things that you do to help yourself normally are the things that you can help other people with. And I feel like that's what you've had to do.
Love that there. Nate, let's come to you then. Let's stay with you then and see like for where you're headed next. What's the belief in yourself that like that you need up level or that you are working on up leveling?
Yeah, so the theme of 2024 was authenticity. And it kind of goes off of what I was just saying. And when I was between the ages of 13 and 18, I had a lot of addictions from nicotine, weed, and alcohol. Nothing too crazy, but by 19, I was at like organ failure. It got pretty bad. And then but around 17, I started playing with psychedelics, and that helped me start like curbing those addictions. And I quit vaping at 19 after like almost dying. And as I started growing more and learning how to use psilocybin mushrooms, especially as a tool for reflection, I realized, wow, I have more power in me than I thought. And that brought me to esotericism, which is like studying yourself to learn more about the universe around you. And then I got into the Hermetic principles, and I realized, like, I need to let go of this idea that someone's gonna come save me and I have to save myself. And that grew into me being authentic and talking about my experiences, my near-death experiences, my experiences on psychedelics, and how I can use those to help teach other people the benefits of them while helping them express their authentic self and get through whatever their challenges are, whether it be physically or mentally or spiritually. I always resonate with people who go through severe addictions because of what I went through at such a young age in my teenage years. And so for me, it's like that expressing those events and not being scared to talk about the things that people don't want to talk about, like psychedelic research right now is at a high, and it's only going to be going up more. And I believe that psilocybin is in the future of therapy, where psychotherapies are super high up. And I actually was studying neuroscience at UVM for a semester. I dropped out because it was too expensive, and then I started my company and went this route instead. But I know I'm building a foundation for what I want to do next based on the coaching I'm doing now in the podcast. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah. So just so you all know, the mute function definitely works on my computer. So that test has been successfully executed. Nate, thank you for bringing in these things. So there are a couple different areas I want to keep like unpacking. I'll do it again. I want to go to Olujare first, and then I'll come and like bring us all in and just kind of have like that like fluid convo. Right?
Sounds good.
All right, cool. So Olujare, like I'm very curious for you for where you're heading to next, for the things that you're trying to get done now. What's a belief that you have that you're thinking about or looking to up level?
Okay, I found it very interesting, when Olivia was answering this question and how she talked about authenticity. For a very long time, just like her, I had to live, life through norms and what was socially acceptable. And it felt like I was being rebellious when I was actually coming to myself, when I was trying to discover myself and be true to, who I really am. It felt like an act of rebellion to everyone else around me. And it is in being my authentic self that I have been able to embrace my creativity. It's in being my authentic self that I've been able to share myself and be able to put out to the world or give back to the world, everything that is inside of me that I should use to help people. So well, to answer your question, I would say the one thing that I believe is staying in that rebellion, if that's how the world sees it, but connecting even higher to my true being. I feel like that is the only way that I can maximize my potentials and do what I have been assigned to do. Just like Nate said, there is a higher power. I'm a person of faith, and just like him, I believe that there is a higher power. There is, something that has been deposited in each and every one of us, which which we're supposed to use to help other people. Um, and my ultimate goal, like I said, is to stay true to myself, live my authentic life, and just do what I have to do, irrespective of what anybody thinks, or, I mean, even if it means going against societal norms.
Okay, so now I'm going to play because it seems to be this common theme of like, we're going to do it our way. I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to push some boundaries. I'm going to go against like societal norms. And I mean, you're talking outliers, so we're with you. We're with you on that. And I think given that, I'm going to want to explore like what's coming next. So like I love to explore the outlier part. I'm like, okay, I think we're fully fledged in the outlier part. So let's like spend most of the conversation exploring the edge of your greatness, the edge of what like what's making you uncomfortable right now, the edge of like how you navigate the unknown. Are y'all down to play that way?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Yeah,
cool, cool. I'm seeing
100%.
generally speaking there. All right. So let's first talk about like I want you to think about like where you're heading to next, right? Because it's going to be easier to like talk about what you've done in the past. And I think it's just like if we were just like the four of us coming together and being like, all right, so here goes some of the cool things I'm doing right now. This is what I'm trying to figure out. Let's actually just bring some of that into this room. Let's let like outliers get to see like what are you up to right now, right? And in the real sense of it all, not like in like the I don't know the polished sense, but what are you up to right now that's like a little tarnished, that like yeah, like you're like, I don't know if I can put it in the front of the house right now, but once it's done, it's gonna be awesome. Let's just get a sense as to like what's coming up for you. I'll do the same order here. We'll go to Olivia, then Nate, then Olujare, and then once I have that and we have that in the room, we can see where we play.
Okay, I will kick us off. And I think really what comes to mind is just being in that growth zone. So I've
Mm.
done it time and time again, right? I started a podcast in the midst of postpartum and losing my father. And I know you don't know any of that backstory, but it was really a pivotal moment. That was a couple years ago of just like, dang, pedal to the metal. It's time to move. And so I learned and I did it. And I definitely feel I'm moving into a period of that time again where it's actually kind of showing up. I love my podcast because I can speak and explore. And I feel like it's just like this sacred space where I can talk with either myself or bring someone on. I love interviewing. And yet I'm kind of having to dance in the realm of being seen, right? That
Mm.
actual vision of like, I don't really do video. I don't really love social media. I love the connections it makes, like in getting to be creative. But I get caught in my head of how do I actually want to show up? What do I want to talk about? And I think that's just like a normal thing, but no one really talks about like how do you learn these? I definitely am on that cusp. I'm a millennial, so I didn't necessarily grow up with social media and I kind of avoided it most of my life. And then but now it's moving. There's so much tech, AI, so much interest there. And it's how do I authentically use that and show up in a way that I can tell my story and share. And I think I'll stop there. There's definitely more, but I'd say that is definitely right now is just having to lean into the discomfort of things I'm not comfortable with.
All right, so I'm gonna play on this a bit here, and then I'm gonna keep going here because I love when these moments happen in the podcast where it's like Like I'm sitting here and all of a sudden the record scratches and Olivia's like, yeah, you know, I'm just like trying to get used to like, you know, being seen, like, you know, and I'm like, like when I experience you right now, I'm like, oh, yep, really well put together. She has this, everything sounds like, you know, like it sounds like well rehearsed, like you just like not like rehearsed, but like you got it. It's in your body, you know what I'm saying? So like help me see here, help all of us here see, and hopefully as I'm reflecting this back that works out for you. Help us see like what's going on. What are you thinking about? Because we often compare how we feel on the inside with how others look on the outside. And what I'm getting here is you're giving us this huge gift of saying like what you're seeing on the outside may not be what's actually happening on my inside here. So do you mind speaking a little bit to that, Olivia?
Yeah, and it makes me think of Nate's like the hero's journey. Nate actually went through a really similar journey of alcoholism, addiction, weed, psychedelics, opening my mind. And I don't really share too much about that yet because corporate job, legalities, things
I
like that.
completely understand that. That's why I'm careful about it. But I don't think I'm ever getting another job again. I have to work for myself.
I love it. My head's getting there. So the undercurrent is I come from like a life of just feeling unworthy, unseen, that my voice wasn't wanted. I wasn't wanted. Not that I had like a super traumatic childhood, but we were, middle class. I didn't really see my parents. It was just get by and do what you need to do. And so I lost myself. I mean, I went full depression, anxiety, just really bad habits that I didn't want to be here for a very long time. And so I come from that space of I know what that feels like. I understand and like have worked through a lot of that journey and yet have done the work. I think what you're seeing is I've showed up for myself. I changed those things. I have been sober for a good long time and I like continue to grow and like I know myself. I think that's the thing is I know who I am. I know how I want to be and express and this is my authenticity. And yet just because I've found that really doesn't mean I necessarily feel comfortable in every space or things that I haven't tried and gotten the data and seen like the mechanisms. I definitely think in systems and organization. And so social media was something that was always very external to me. I could watch videos, I can look at people, I can listen to podcasts, and I'm like, you pick up what you like. But the reality of me sitting there recording something and like being seen, like guesting's my next big thing. So that you're kicking me off on my journey of wanting to start guesting and actually talking versus being the one asking the questions. But that would be a little bit under the hood of Olivia is it has not been an easy journey, but it's been a journey of having to kind of fall apart and put yourself back together again and say, okay, now how and who do I want to be in this life? And this version of me is going to be really different from the 5 year from now version of me and the 10 year and plus. But I love that. Like, I just feel like we're creating this beautiful book and this marble masterpiece, and it might fall apart and I'm going to have to glue it back together again. But I've honored that that's just the reality of this life.
Yo, thanks for playing, Olivia. I like I like Olujare, Nate, is anything coming up for you as Olivia shares this here?
It really resonates with me about just going through that darkness to find yourself, like having to like fall apart just to build yourself back up again. And I've felt like I've done this so many times, and I'm only 22. I imagine you must be a lot, at least like 5, 10 years older than me. You probably have a kid that you said, so yeah, you've experienced a lot more life, and you've probably had to fall apart and build yourself back up many more times than I have.
I want to say thank you. I think age is a number, and some of us just come in with like, I really saw my life path of it's just one that's kind of chaotic, and we're here to learn and change and help others. I'd say what I've heard from a lot of us here talking is we stepped into a leadership role and a willingness to share our story, share our journey, not because necessarily even we want to or like we wanted to go through the things we did, and yet it's leading us somewhere. Like we're learning things. And I think it's really beautiful, no matter where you are, just like how you got to this place, like how we are all sitting here in this space and time, sharing from where we're sharing. I think it's really cool to see the similarities that are between us all and that are coming through.
Yeah, I'm appreciative. Like, I recognize that like there are spaces where things may feel safe and things may not, right? And then there's also like not just like the micro space, like does this in particular environment feel space, but like the macro environment in which we navigate. And so I'm always really just like very grateful to someone who just like continues to play full out. Um, it's one of the things reasons I do love entrepreneurship in the sense here because like I used to work in tech myself, and there's a lot of room in tech. And at the same time, I feel like there's still a lot of room, even more room out here. I want to ask you all here because like now this element of being seen, I think is Olivia. So like people don't talk about it. So I'm like, all right, so why don't we talk about it then? And have this conversation be a bit different. When I think about being seen, I think about it from a couple different levels. So just so y'all know, like we're about to get into it, at least in the way my mind works. I think about being seen. There's being seen, and there's being seen. It's like there's being visible and then like being like visible, right? So to me, the first one is really about like, are you showing up? Is the camera on? Like, are you physically there? Like you guys are all on this podcast, you're all being seen, right? And then there's the other part of it that's like, all right, hold on now. Am I gonna let you in on like my life? Am I gonna let you in on my insecurities? Am I gonna let you in on the things that I'm really, really, really proud of that I'm afraid that people won't think of me as being humble or I'll come off arrogant, So there's being seen and there's being seen. And are y'all good to play a little bit in this pool of visibility and being seen a bit? Let me just check in with you and see like, does this line up for y'all in terms of where the conversation's going?
Yes, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Olujare, how are you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be like, if not, we can just go off in different place. But um, I think where I want to start off with this one, from if this is a start off at all, is around like, how do you all let's say you get to a place where an outlier is out there, or you've gotten to a place where you've allowed yourself to be seen some, and the vulnerability like starts to like creep up again. You're just like, oh wait, hold on, that was either an overshare, or I don't know where that's like how that's gonna go. And you feel yourself wanting to retract in. How do you all like kind of stay? I call it like staying open. How do you stay open to the moment and as you are expanding what you allow people to see. And I'll just leave this open. Like unmute yourself and share what comes to you.
Okay. Is it okay if I go first?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so with that, I had to deal with this a lot. So there's a thing about being vulnerable, sharing yourself or sharing details about your life, and you don't actually know who is listening. You don't know how far whatever you've put out there has gone. And you have this cringe moment like, did I just say that? Did I just put all of that out? But what has helped me to stay open to a certain extent, or if I do retreat, what has helped to bring me back out there and, that just helps me stay on the path of, just keep sharing is the feedback that I get. I get messages from people who say, like I mentioned before, or who just, send me messages saying how the things I've shared have helped them, how they can relate. And I'm like, okay, then it means I'm doing something right. It means my experiences are not just for me alone. I have gone through these things to be able to help other people navigate their own paths and maybe not have to go through the the pain or the struggles as deeply or as intense as, it just helps to make things lighter for people. So yeah.
I would love to build on that. I think that was really beautiful. And I could feel like, oh, that cringe. Ooh, like, oh, I just went there. But I love that you like those reminders. And it really made me think about how like we have come away so far from community, from storytelling, from those deeper connections in our day to day. And I think like podcasting and sharing and putting ourselves out there allows this ability to reflect and see each other and one another and go, oh, they're experiencing this or they're feeling that way, or this is how they've done this. And it reminds us that, like, at our core, we are human and we are trying our best and we are doing our best, at least hopefully, most of us are doing our best to show up in the ways that we want to, or we're learning. And hopefully, you learn from something. If it is really bad or whatever, you take that and go, okay, that didn't feel good. How do I adjust? So that's what it made me think about. And I would add on that I really try to set an intention before I do something. So before I even go into that, I've already put myself in a space of I just want to flow, be of the highest good for someone, or whatever that intention is. And then remember my why. I think when you can fall into that cringe, that pull away, oh, I'm not going to share or show up again, come back to your why. Why were you sharing in the first place? Why are you doing the things that you are doing? And let that kind of lift you out of that space. And remember that bigger picture of we're not perfection. We are taking one step at a time.
I
Yeah.
really like what you had to say there.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a cool thing here. I like exploring this here because it's funny. I'm someone that at a certain point I realized like um I'm well known but not known well. Right. And it's one of those things where it's like people know me, but do people know me? Again, it's
I
like when
like
it comes
that.
to the VC part, like it's all this like, but like that second version, if I say it again in a little bit deeper tone, like you know what I'm saying? And so like let's keep playing with this element here. Like I would love to find like for each of you, what's one of the gifts, what's some of the benefits that you've gotten from actually allowing yourself to be seen in that kind of like deeper tone version here? What's something came up? Dave, why don't we start with you and then let's keep ripping.
Yeah, I got a great one here. So what the more authentic I become and the less I like try to like really think about what I'm saying and I just speak from the heart and I tell people how I feel, the better things seem to get in my life. And this is this constant. Like the first example I have of like me trying too hard and like thinking about what other people think of me is in high school. And that's when I started vaping because I thought it was cool. And I was like, oh, people will think I'm cool if I vape. And I just was like, yo, this smoke is awesome. Like, wow, look at me go. And then it just basically led to a really bad addiction. And then, like, even worse, like almost dying. And it taught me the most valuable lesson ever, and that's to not care too much what other people think of you and to do things because they feel good to you. It feels right. And I'm am a big believer in God. I believe that you need to have faith in something bigger than you, and you need to have like you need to see the benefits of community and allow community to help you become the most authentic version of yourself where when you love doing something so you find people who are into that. For me that's psychedelics, and it's always been really hard for me to talk about psychedelics because I was so young and I couldn't just bring this up. People were like, yo, like you're this crazy, and I'm like, but I'm not. Like you don't see the things that I'm seeing. Like I see so much potential in this to help people. I'm not using it for fun. I'm using it with intention, as Olivia was just saying. It's all about intention. Intention is the key with everything you put on your body, in your body, or around you. Like, why are you hanging out with the people you're hanging out with? And even further, dig deeper, like, why do you create the things you create? Like, the companies, like, just as man is made in the image of God, so our companies are made in the image of ourselves. At the highest version, Savior Service is a reflection of my most core values.
I love that. I think that's so beautiful in that, and you trusted too. Like you said, not everyone has to get you, but you are allowed to get yourself and move yourself forward. And I'll add in that I think there's power in being seen, and you get to reap that truth. When I say power, I almost think it's like a truth. It's like this embodied expansion, and life kind of becomes easier. Like connections flow with more grace and like magicalness, that I'm like, oh, this feels really good. What is happening? Versus me not really listening and having like car broke down. This isn't working. Oh gosh, I'm not well anymore. It's like your body and life is trying to speak to you at all times. And when you begin to listen and let yourself be seen and you authentically show up, you get those beautiful synchronicities and opportunities and that joy that I think we're all searching for. And most importantly, I like that you say community, because again, we're all building like our little islands, I'd say. Like we're not islands, I'd say beautiful spaces that we can come to and we can leave. And yet we don't all have to think the same way or be the same thing, but you find your people who resonate and see you, and there's not competition and there's not like that fear. It's just, hey, we're moving through this together and we think a little similarly, or you have a nugget I need on this journey. Let's work together or be together. And I've never, I think, felt so supported in my life than when I've been on this journey.
Y'all, I just happened to look down and we're at our time. And so I want to say thank you. I always enjoy when that happens. I'm like, okay, now I have to go wrap up really quickly, but like I enjoy it because it means that the conversation was flowing, that y'all were really showing up here. And just know that uh we see you, and thank you for letting us see ourselves through you. I think that's one of the big reasons we come into this space. You're talking about community. I'm all in on community. This is like Outliers Ed, as much as a business, it's a movement. It's a movement about belonging. That's it. And I'm just choosing to work with people who are like, I want to lead more belonging for myself and others. So thank you all for leading from the front. Outliers, I'm coming to you on this one here. Like, wow, we just had this conversation here. Like, that there's people, someone in your life right now who it just is desperately craving to be seen and be seen. And so, with that being said, like, my ask is that you take some time to join us in our one person, one conversation at a time initiative, and send this conversation to one person in your life who like you really feel would benefit from it. You can go ahead and share it on all of your other platforms and such. But I really think that like the real key here is just one person, one conversation at a time, and letting this grow by letting them get the gift of you, sharing with them that you're thinking of them, even when they may not be thinking that someone's out there thinking of them. All right. And I hopefully the podcast is an easy way to share that gift with people. Olivia, Nate, Olujare, I'm very glad that we had this conversation. At this point, Outliers have gotten what they're going to get from this here. We're going to leave them here. I want to give some space for you all to share how they can stay in contact with you, go deeper in a journey with you, as well as an insight that you got from this conversation, something that you're taking away. And if you're not taking anything away, you can also just say that. All right. So how they can go down deeper with you and an insight you got. Olivia, I'll spare you this time from having to go first. We can go to Olujare this time around. What's an insight you got, and something that how people can go deeper in the journey with you.
Okay, yeah, thank you once again for having me join this podcast. I have really enjoyed it so far. And the one thing I'll say that I will take away from here, one thing that I have gotten from listening to Olivia and Nate is the power of authenticity, that it doesn't matter how dark life has been, it doesn't matter how bad the experiences have been, it doesn't matter the gloom. The moment you're able to find yourself, I think it just goes all the way up from there. Um, Knowing that there are other people who have similar experiences or who have felt similar things, but maybe with different experiences from me, is I find that comforting. I find that really interesting. It makes me feel like I'm not alone, which I feel is what other people also get when they listen to me anyway. I have a podcast called Life as I See It. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you listen to your podcast, basically. Life as I See It. I share my life experiences, personal experiences, shared experiences from, the lives of other people around me, things I have seen growing up in present age, and, just give my insights, ideas, knowledge, intuition, whatever on it. You can listen to my episodes haven't been too consistent, but I'm working on that in this new year. You can also connect with me on Instagram. It's Life as I See It 88 as well. Um, like I said, in building my community, it's more of an organic thing. So it's still a very small community. You can send me an email on olujareogbe@gmail.com.
Perfect.
And yeah,
I think
basically that's it for now.
yeah, I feel good about that. Right? Outliers, like essentially, if you want to get in touch with her, you can, right? So I'm loving that there. Thank you, Olujare. Thank you for bringing you. Nate, let's come to you. Just if you can share with us an insight you got from this conversation, if you got one, and then how people can go deeper with you.
Yeah, so as for insights, I really love like when people can go through like their darkness and come out like a more authentic version of themselves. It's something that I've been going through for a while, and even as I've moved to LA, I've been going through a lot since I got here. It hasn't been easy by any means, but I've been growing so fast, and for me, it's like the insight that's like coming to me right now is like put yourself in uncomfortable situations to grow. You won't grow if you stay comfortable your whole life. And for connecting with me, you can find my podcast on all platforms, Savior Services Podcast. And on Instagram, if you want to get in contact with me, if you want coaching or if you just want to see more of my content, it's savior.services. And that savior.services is also my website. So it's everything's super easy to find. If you
Perfect.
please feel free to reach out. And thank you for having me on, Niiamah.
No, thanks for being here, Nate. I really appreciate you for that. Olivia, let's bring it all home here. What's an insight you got, and how can people go deeper down the journey with you?
Yes, certainly. I think it comes to the trust. Trust where you are, trust what's nudging you, trust what you feel is the next best step for yourself and your life, and be willing to be authentic, to take charge of your life and lead and step forward wherever it is calling you, that you really have the power and you can do whatever you want to do. So you can find me on Instagram at Wildly Olivia, or listen to my podcast, Intuition Unlocked, anywhere you listen to podcasts, and just come reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you, Niiamah, for this opportunity, for this time together, and to everyone today here.
Well, Outliers, you've just heard a phenomenal panel. Go spend time in their world. We do this thing together more than anything else. Remember, y'all, until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.